Welcome and good evening, everyone. My name is Kunal Aman, and I'm the marketing manager here at Datamatics. I'll be your host for today's webinar. Datamatics complimentary webinars are designed to help you better understand some of today's most critical IT issues and walk away with practical advice on how to address them in your organization. Feel free to send in your questions across to our presenters using the chat window on the lower right corner of your screen during the webinar. At the end of the session, we will take as many questions as time permits. I hope you will enjoy today's session. Our topic is an interesting one. Rest in peace, big data. Long live big content. And it is being presented by Ullas Kulkarni. Ullas has over 21 years of experience in the IT industry and is an expert in big data, collaboration initiatives, and information management. Ullas has spoken on these topics at various events, the most recent one being at the AIIM Roadshow in London this June. Ullas is the Associate Vice President at Datamatics and has managed IT assignments for major clients across Europe, USA, and Middle East. And so, with that quick introduction, I would like to invite Ullas to take over the webinar. Over to you, Ullas.
Thanks, Kunal, and good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to this webinar on a very interesting topic of big content. We all have heard about big data, and it's around for last 4 to 5 years. And of course, it has very successfully addressed the interesting area of extracting intelligence out of huge data that is being created. That's the reason it had caught my attention, and I have been tracking it very closely over these years. Now, what I have observed is that till now, we fail to see any big case wherein the client has gone for that in a big way and has derived the benefits that big data has to offer. And that's the reason I have been analyzing it closely. And there are certain things that I would like to share. The key thing coming out of this analysis is big content. Before I go further, I would like to give a brief introduction about the organization for which I work, Datamatics. Well, it's a global IT services organization with operations and clients in over 60 countries. I have about 5,000 employees as my colleagues, and we are working on about 200 global clients, of which many of them are Fortune 500 clients. We specialized in enterprise content management, data and document management, and our focus is not only the proprietary technologies, but also the open source technologies. And hence, Datamatics is an IT services, business process, and knowledge process organization, and I work for them, as I mentioned. Now, we know we have been sitting on huge amount of data and also contributing to building this data every passing moment. Now, we've been seeing over the period of time that the unit that we generally use for representing this data has changed from megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte, petabyte, and zettabyte. Yeah. So, and of course, we'll keep on inventing bigger and bigger units to use and represent this data in a more easily understandable quantities. Now, we see that the pace with which this data is growing itself is pretty fast. The data is being generated by the equipment, data is being generated by us on social media, using Facebook, LinkedIn, we are using Twitter, blogs, forums, and this has been further facilitated by the ever-increasing technology on hardware, with hardware configurations becoming more and more stronger, more and more affordable, and hence widespread. So I could see one finding that the data doubles every 2 years, and hence we can very easily visualize how quantum of data is going to grow in future. Now, what do we do with this data? Either we keep our life simple by totally ignoring it, well, we're not going to lose anything. But if we try to use this data to derive value out of it and use it for our business, then definitely it will be useful. And big data took that bold second step 2 years back and has been widespread, giving ideas about how this huge amount of data can still be useful for growing our business and becoming more productive and efficient. Big data has done that pretty efficiently, pretty effectively, and as you could see, the Gartner report, which has been released quite recently, less than a couple of weeks back, shows that big data has reached to the level of peak of inflated expectations. So what does it say? It says that it's high time now to perform against the expectations that have been set till now. Extremely important. Like, as you can see, the hype cycle shows what will happen if this doesn't happen. Of course, till now, whatever results we have seen, it is not going in that direction, and hence there's a risk that it will fall down into the trough of disillusionment. What does that mean? The users will lose interest. So whatever excellent work that big data has done till now, at catching attention, generating interest, and setting expectations, would be gone in a very short time. Hence, it's extremely important for us to find a way wherein this interesting concept actually delivers. And that's the reason why we have gone deeper into the data analysis, and we're happy to say that we have some strong answer to make big data perform and meet at least closer to the expectations that it has set. I've done analysis of the data that we have been speaking about, huge amounts of data, and to keep it simple, we tried to see how the structuring of the data, the level of structuredness of the data, and ease with which the value can be captured from the data is related. And it's common sense that more structured the data is, it's easier to process that and derive value out of that. On the other hand, more and more data gets unstructured, it's difficult to handle, it's difficult to derive, process, and derive something useful out of that. Now, when we analyze the entire data, we could see that most of the data, and to be precise, more than 85% of the data lies into semi-structured or unstructured region, and hence it's very clear that it's very difficult to handle it, and it's very difficult to extract value out of that. Now, in very simple terms, if we see the data generated by the machines, it has some set pattern and that tends to be more structured. On the other hand, the data generated by human beings on social media, on different forums, tends to be more semi-structured or unstructured. Second point is, now we see that with more and more sites online, we have seen that the number of online users participating in some sort of social media is continuously increasing, and that figure is more than 95%. It means that the proportion of your data in the entire data that we have, content that we have, is further going on reducing. So if we are speaking about this to be around 15%, slowly it will keep on decreasing because the unstructured part is increasing. That's where we could see where big data is stuck. The current big data technologies are able to process the data which is structured to a reasonable level so that they can extract intelligence of that. It goes into unstructured reason, big data is stuck. The current technologies which are providing big data services are not able to proceed beyond that. So it will be correct to say that as of now, if big data is able to deliver less than 15% of its potential. One area is content structuring or managing the unstructured part of the content. And moment you see where the problem is, it is generally says that 50% solution is found. And the solution to this problem is big content. Is something which supports big data in handling even the semi and unstructured content, which forms the major chunk of the entire data that is available. How does it do? And why suddenly that has become possible? Well, one problem with the unstructured part of content is lack of discipline, lack of focus in implementing discipline, and hence, as a result of that, extracting value out of that becomes difficult. Second thing is, the problem with the unstructured content is the value density is much lesser than the structured part. It means that for getting a certain amount of value, the quantum of data that needs to be handled, which is structured, is much lesser than the unstructured part. And hence, it needs to have strong processing power, strong storage power, and lot. So considering these key problems, it was extremely difficult to handle the unstructured things, which are supporting the big content, have made it possible because few key facilities that have been available. One of them being strong indexing capabilities that have been supported by recent big content technology. Second is strong search mechanism, which is possible because of these recent big content technologies. And third, most important thing is capability to handle and store huge amounts of data required for processing this huge quantum of unstructured content. These three things have made it very easily possible for concept of big content to produce and give results, and in turn enhance the potential of big data, which is still struggling big way to meet its expectations. With this background, I suggest a solution that we have extensively seen working, which is called Big Content Platform. Now, out here you see a platform which helps an organization to transmission from various sources in real time. One more important thing before I proceed further is the life of unstructured content is much less. Say, for example, if you get some feedback on a particular event or particular product 2 days back, unless you use it immediately in real time, it will lose its value. Hence, it's extremely important that you process that in real time so that the most important factor of human sentiments, which might change pretty fast, could be captured and acted upon in real time. It means that you can't have a one-time activity of processing the unstructured content, but it has to be an ongoing activity of continuously taking the latest unstructured data produced through different sources, derive intelligence, and feed it back into the system, which takes necessary corrective actions on the fly, so that system is working perpetually to handle this ever-changing inputs on human sentiments or other related values that can be captured from this unstructured data. Now, when I look at this platform, so you see a UXP portal, which is User Experience Platform Portal and in the center, whose main purpose is to ensure that the end user experience is as high as possible. So without big content and supporting big data inputs, the portal will work on static data based on user experience, user interviews to ensure that apart from the user look and feel of the user interface, the workflows, the content, the data, everything is giving excellent user experience. But then that will become stale if it is not updated continuously based on feedback from the users. And this feedback comes from either internal sources, as mentioned in the diagram, or it will mainly come from social media in different formats. Of course, the quantum of information coming from the social interaction is quite high, and that's why big content plays a key role. Now, as you could see, there's internal database housing and business intelligence platform. Now, the data from the structured sources can be fed directly there because the existing technologies can work on that. But the ones coming from unstructured sources needs to be worked upon appropriately and put in the form wherein the standard BI databasing platforms can work on that. And that's the key value addition by this big content platform, wherein various tools that are available, big content tools, will work on this huge amount of data, index them properly, structure them properly to the extent required, and then put them into the format along with strong search mechanism so that it can work seamlessly with the other structured data available in the organization. Now, there has to be a mechanism wherein this is being purged at required intervals so that the new generated data could be fed into the system and the system can keep working on a perpetual basis. Now, to ensure that the user experience is quite high, this feedback from the user needs to get into the system also so that you can make necessary changes in the portal as well as the mobility accesses that or checkpoints that the portal has so that you are able to make the maximum benefit out of this human sentiments you have captured from this huge amount of data by processing such an enormous amount of unstructured content. We have seen this working very well, and I'll further share certain use cases as well as case studies where our client has benefited a lot by that and they have seen benefits coming out of it. Now, you speak about any business, the three key purposes behind any business are revenue generation, customer service, and operations. Of course, excellent customer service and efficient operations will further facilitate into revenue generation. And these three key important pillars of business can get benefited extensively by having this big content platform. For all these areas, no matter what type of operations you handle, maybe in this case, maybe I can, for the sake of simplicity, I take case of an automobile manufacturing company, organization, which has huge set of a network of vendors who provide different parts, then huge network of dealers and spare parts sales, and number of departments within the organization which participate into assembling out a single product, that is a car or any vehicle. So we could see that there are multiple parties involved in this, and everyone has scope of adding to the improvement of the product, provided that that particular department or the vendor or the dealer gets feedback at the right time. And the source of the feedback, or major source of most effective feedback, comes from the end users who are using your product. Now, sooner you are able to capture that information, faster is the person who needs to take corrective action to be informed, and hence the benefit could be seen in the final product which goes back against the customer. And hence, you could see that having the big content platform can facilitate the process in real time on the fly and help us further grow in our business. So I'll take two use cases here, two use cases. One is improved customer experience. Okay, so in this case, I'll focus on the instance wherein car has been rolled out, the customer has taken that and has started using it, and our focus is to improve the experience of that customer with this new model so that, of course, obviously it will help us in growing our business. Now, internally, if you see, there are various sources in which you can get customer feedback. Internal sources could be through emails or the phone calls, which could be converted into text or other internal sources. There could be other private sources like online portals, online forms, the CRM system where data could be maybe structured, semi-structured. And third most important is integration with the social media where the data is guaranteed to be unstructured, but that's the area where you will get to hear voice of the customer. The big content platform will focus on all these three areas, capture the information. Now, as you could see, based on our analysis, we see that more than 80% of the information is from unstructured sources. So if you don't go with the big content platform, you will be playing around with just 20% of the feedback, which could be misleading. So even if you put efforts into that, you are not sure that you are hitting the right or you are taking the right decisions to improve the customer experience. But by covering this more than 80% of the unstructured area, you are in a way taking a 360-degree feedback about the product, your services, which facilitates you taking the right decision and taking the corrective actions. So the key benefits that you could get, reduce time to spot customer issues. Faster you come to know about the issues, more time you get to act upon that, and lesser are the so-called damages done. What will happen with that? You will have better customer experience. And the key beauty of this is having this perpetual system, it will be working perpetually in a highly efficient manner, and hence you don't have to put too many resources or manpower in its day-to-day operation. The system will work on its own in a most productive and efficient manner and will help you improve the customer experience. That's one use case which can be gathered from this content platform. Second important is the more efficient quality response. And that is extremely important in the case that we have been speaking about, wherein you roll out a new product. Of course, you have done your part of analysis, but the real feedback comes when the person actually uses and works on that. And that feedback is extremely important. And sooner you are able to get that, more faster you can take the required corrective actions. And in real life, no matter how much of preparations and background work that you do in advance, there are bound to be the situations wherein there are certain problems in the final product. That's real world. And sooner you get that, better it could be. No matter how thoroughly you test, the end user is the best person to use all the required features that the end product is meant for. And the chances of that person capturing this is more high. And hence, having the system in place where, again, the way I mentioned in the previous use case, you have different sources of information on customer feedback and customer experience on the new product. And this information, if you capture in real time and take corrective actions with the big content platform that I mentioned, will help you in more efficiently identifying and addressing the quality issue and getting a 360-degree feedback wherein you are absolutely clear that whatever information you are getting is true. Of course, I mean, one key thing while handling a big content type of information is you need to have thorough expertise in handling this type of information which we will provide, so that you know what type of information you should focus on and what type of information or data you should get to. Finally, huge quantums are involved and you don't want to do it more efficiently, and we can help you in that. So You could see very easily, and the unstructured part of the data, generally based on our experience in such cases, is more than 85%. So if you don't go a big content platform, you will be just struggling with less than 15% of the data, and hence the results and conclusions coming out of that will be missed. So what to do? How to handle that? So in order to keep the things simple, we would say that your big content implementation roadmap will have 4 simple steps. First, you identify the pain areas. Actual pain areas, identify that, then of them we can find out which are the good candidates to be benefited by this big content platform. It's always good to go in phased manner rather than doing a big bang approach. And as 80-20 rules apply, we pick up those 20% of pain areas which are expected to give 80% of the benefit. It's going to address 80% of the problem, and we can help you in that. So once you identify the pain areas, next step is to see what are the relevant sources of information. This is the place where you have to keep your eyes and ears open for all possible sources of information and not get biased by the structured one, which has been done till now. We have seen happening even by big data. So here we don't let go even the unstructured part of the data because it can give you valuable information, human sentiments, business values, and a lot of other things can be extracted there. So, and we help you identify what type of sources together. Next comes the step wherein we transform that into visible format. That it is very easily said and done. And this is precisely what the big content platform does in real time, on the fly, for the data which is being generated in huge volumes. And that's where our solution plays key role. So once you have taken right direction in first 2 steps, then the third step will implement that. And in the fourth step, of course, we'll have to work with your business team to see how the derived intelligence could be applied in real time to have business corrections and business benefits coming out. So these 4 steps will ensure that we smoothly increase the benefits coming out of the big data from somewhere close to 15% to very close to 100%. That I would say it's a very good deal. Now I move to some real case studies wherein we have seen our clients getting benefited by this big content platform that we had discussed so far. Now, first case I'll take of a US-based GPS location-based services provider, and they wanted to improve customer experience, and they had heard something about big data, but they wanted to see how it can actually be implemented, and that's where we got into discussions with them, and subsequently we implemented our big content platform there. Now, the volumes that these people were laying around were really good. 5 million inserts per day, around 200,000 devices generating that. Life would have been easier if these 200 devices were of the same nature. No, they were different devices. Smartphones, iPads, Kindles, different. So it added all possible types of complexities in the sizes and formats of these inserts that I spoke about. On top of that, the volumes, which is 5 million, and they wanted to use that. Now, if this data is generated on daily basis, and we are speaking about some sort of feedback, then it is extremely important that you process that and conclude the processing before next set of 5 million data is ready for processing. And hence, the time frames involved are very small. The shelf life of this information is very small. Hence, we, apart from handling huge volumes, we have to do that very fast. Hence, it was a classic case study of it. We were very happy because we could see our solution capable of giving what client was looking forward for that. We implemented that, And in a very short frame of 2 months, we could see client coming back to us extremely happy, saying that they have seen the customer experience going up in terms of the performance being almost doubled as compared to what it was earlier. How did that happen? Say, for example, somebody is tracking a shipment and gave a feedback about certain problem that they have faced. Our big content platform would give that feedback on a larger sample size for the system to derive what is going wrong. And the moment you come to know about that, the life becomes easier for us to implement that and see the correct actions being taken. So in short time, whatever teething problems that end users were facing were immediately communicated back to us because of this solution. And since there was strong commitment from the client to take corrective actions, we could see the results flowing in very fast and everything happening in real time. And the client is extremely happy. You can see the feedback we received from the client. So that was a classic case. I can take one more case. Okay, so that was for one of the major client chemical manufacturer, and intentionally I'm taking this particular case because till now I have been speaking about deriving information on human sentiments. Well, from my perspective, human sentiment is a huge and very important information for better client customer experience and improving business. But there are other areas as well in which big content can play important role, and that is in extracting even the business rules and hidden information in heaps of data that is being filed by mostly manufacturing organizations. So we could see this case helping us in that. So these people, they had about 80 million patents which were being added on regular basis. Some of them were in the structured format, many of them were in the unstructured format, and hence extracting the required information was extremely difficult, and it was made even more difficult by the very old systems that they have for handling these type of documents. So we could see that as a classic case where we can pitch for our big content platform solution. And we did that with standard technologies like Hadoop, and it was mainly on that way. And once we implemented that, we could see that total cost of ownership reduced by 20 times. That is come to 120 because of the platforms and basically use of open source technologies. And most important thing, the key pain point that they had identified was access to the business information. It had increased 10 times. That's a classic case. Very important information could be available at the fingertips, and that was very much possible because of the platform solution that we had. The client is extremely happy, and the system is perpetually working even now there. Of course, out here, the shelf life of the data is pretty large, although the volumes have been very large, but the shelf life is also longer, much longer than the cases that we discussed so far about the social media feedback. But still, it's very important from business perspective. I'll take one more small case wherein we have seen benefits of our solution. It's a non-profit organization which again has data coming from various sources, and they wanted to extract certain information and intelligence from that data. The volumes are huge, 1 petabyte of data, and sources are widespread. And out here, again, I would say more than 85% was unstructured. And because the organization is located in multiple countries, multiple interfaces from different regions, different cultures, and hence the data that can be that gets added is as complex as it could be. We provided them a SharePoint point-based solution because the collaboration was extremely important here. And for getting the data available for collaboration between different users and intelligence extracted from the data that has been generated so far, we implemented our big content solution, and here also access to the information and productivity we could see increasing more than 10 times, close to 10 times. So what has added to that is a perfect combination of big content platform, giving the information from various types of sources, and SharePoint solution, helping search and collaboration between different types of users. And this case has made client extremely happy, and they are using it extensively. So with this, I conclude my presentation. I would like to thank you for your time, and as a gesture to thank you for your attendance and patient hearing, I would like to offer you free consultancy from my organization, Datamatics, to help you out in the first step of the four-step roadmap that I mentioned some time back. That is identifying the possible pain points and identifying the candidates which can be most benefited by the big content platform solution that we have discussed in this webinar. To some extent, we can help you even analyze in the second step, but that will need a lot of interaction, and hence that's the reason I said to some extent, wherein we can help you see whether the different types of sources that are required for addressing the shortlisted endpoints. So please feel free to contact us for whatever type of queries that you would have, and in case if you are interested in the free consultancy offer that we are giving you. Once again, thank you very much, and I would be glad to answer your questions after this webinar, as well as subsequently if you communicate with me on this email ID. Thank you. I will hand it over to you now.
Thanks, Ullas. It was a great presentation. And in fact, we have got some active participation from our listeners in the form of questions, and maybe we can take up a few of them. So here goes one of the first ones. So, yeah, so how exactly is big content different from big data? So this comes from one of our listeners. So maybe you could touch upon few of the differences between big data and big content.
Okay, we touched upon this point in one of the slides earlier, but I think I can elaborate that further. So I would say big data and big content, or maybe big content is something which is supporting big data to exploit its potential. Big data till now has been struggling with only structured data, but not able to process the unstructured data. And hence, big content has joined the kitty of big data to take responsibility of the major challenge that big data is facing to handle the unstructured part. So conceptually, both big data and big content are doing the same things. Big data is possibly superset and big content is subset of that, but then very important subset because it is handling the most difficult part, that is the unstructured data.
Great. So we have one more question. So apart from human sentiments, what are the other types of information that could be possibly extracted using big content platforms?
I think it's a very good question because in general, we have been speaking about social media, we have been speaking about various forums where the data comes in. And the most important thing we have been speaking about is human sentiments. I agree. So that gave a feeling that there are no other areas where it can be helpful. Before answering precisely to this question, what I would say is human sentiment itself is a huge area and extremely important area. At this webinar level, I was at quite high level and I didn't dive deeper into that. But once we start getting into actual implementation, we could see there are various parts within the human sentiment which can be captured and made helpful. So even the human sentiments itself is a huge area, but there are other areas also wherein big content can be helpful. One case study that we considered some time back was deriving business knowledge and business rules out of old documents that are available in the organization. Generally in the manufacturing segment or many different industries, we pile up documentations and extracting any business rule or information becomes extremely difficult. But the same concept of big content can be applied there to derive the required intelligence out of this. And that is one more area that I can see of help that big content could help in. So in general, whatever intelligence we would need apart from human sentiments or business intelligence, which unfortunately is lying in unstructured format through emails, through documents, or through maybe audio feedback or whatever it is. Anything of that form, the concept can be applicable to derive that. Of course, the solutioning needs specific effort and we can help in that.
So, great. Thanks for sharing your insights on that one, Ullas. So we just got one more question that just came in. So this one is specifically asking, typically what is the time frame that a typical big content project, would last?
If I understand that correctly, you are asking about the implementation time frame, right? Because the solution that we are going to provide is not a one-time. We provide you a system which works perpetually, and it's suggested that it remains into the system till the time you expect this source of unstructured information coming into the system. Implementation part, well, I can't give you a single answer because it purely depends on the type of pain point that you have identified, and it depends on the complexity of sources of data that we identify in the step number 2 of the 4-step approach that we mentioned. So it could be as short as 3 months, and it could be as long as going up to a year. And when the project goes into year, generally what we have done in one of our cases is we do that in a phased manner so that you pick up the sources which are more important in the first phase and then do that in a phased manner so that you can start getting results in short frame of 3 to 4 months. I hope that answers your question.
Great. Thanks, Ullas. We have just one more question that just came in. So yeah, we've got a lot of active listeners out there. So can big content be implemented on cloud as well?
Excellent question. And what I would like to say is big content has a lot to thank the cloud technology because I spoke about few areas which were stopping big data to handle such huge amount of data, and one of the factors was the quantum of data that needs to be handled during processing as well as after processing, and hence it needs a lot of storage capacity. Not all organizations can have, otherwise it becomes really expensive. So excellent thing is that most of these big content technologies or tools are available on cloud. That means that not only the access to these tools, but even during the processing, the data can be stored on the cloud. And that makes it a lot more easier to implement it faster. So to answer your question, yes, it could be implemented very well using the cloud platform.
Great. Thanks a lot, Ullas. The presentation I think was wonderful, and I really appreciate the time that you took to be with us today. And for all our participants online, as you heard from Ullas, we would be conducting a free consultation session. This is specifically designed to help you deal with any specific problem areas in your organization. This could be around content management or, for that matter, collaboration. For those of you interested, please fill in your details in the form that will pop up on your browser at the end of this session, and we'll be sure to get in touch. This concludes our webinar. Thank you for your time and attention. Have a great day.